Hello, everyone. This is part three of our Going Deeper Communication and Reality lecture. Cast, screen, lecture, cast, something like that. You probably just clicked over here from the last one, but in case you didn't, it's a quick reminder. We were talking about tables and chickens. Okay? We're talking about tables, we're talking about chickens, we're talking about representational system. We're talking about what would happen to you if, as a child, your parents switched these two words with the things, and how that would actually impact your world. So now it's time for us to take this and move into kind of the view of communication I want us to have for this class, and I think it's a really good way for us to view communication, especially when you take how we've got all these definitions of communication that we've been discussing on the discussion board, and we can kind of see how it's looked at out there. But then when you come into the communication scholarship, you can really see that there's a more nuanced, complex, robust way for us of really understanding communication that will actually bring our meaning making systems into the definition. Okay, so we talked about tables and chickens to highlight how the representational system works. That is very surface, by the way. I could go 3 hours on. I won't, because I'm probably the only one who finds it interesting. But on really how meaning gets made, we could get into structuralist and post-structuralist ways of understanding the world, where you have de Saussure and you have Derrida and you have Saussurian linguistics, where we have the thing, the word, and the mind's eye concept and stuff like that. But I want to get us to the definition for our class. Okay, so keeping this table and chicken switcheroo in mind for a minute. Okay, I want to come over to the definition. But before I do that, I'm going to ask one question. Okay, in the last screencast, I was talking about how that teacher and little Brandon are going to have to figure out what is what here. And really, Brandon's going to have to be the one to change. The teacher's going to be right in saying, look, you can't call a chicken a table. You can't do this. You can't call a table a chicken. It just doesn't work. And even for little Brandon, who's like, but it's only one relationship. You can't do that. And so here's my question as we go into a new perspective or definition here in a second. I'm 36 years old right now, and I can't go around calling a table a chicken and a chicken a table. And the question is why? Why not? It's just one relationship. Well, there's a reason, okay? Probably because you go, well, one answer is because that's not what it is. And that's actually kind of the way to look at it. So what we have here is here's how we're going to look at communication for us in here, okay? And I want you to take a look at this. I'm going to unpack it for the next few minutes. Communication is, or as, okay, a symbolic process whereby reality is produced, maintained, repaired, and transformed. I'm going to break this down. Okay, communication is a symbolic process. It's a symbolic process because we use symbols. We draw symbols on paper. We push buttons that produce symbols on screens. And you know what those symbols mean when I put them in a particular order. I've done it up here. I pushed a button that made this symbol appear. And I pushed another button that made this symbol, and 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 this symbol. Really, all these are just drawings. They're symbols that we've agreed on. We have symbols that we attach sound to, so that when I see this particular symbol, for example, I know it's an A or ah, right? I make sound waves come out of my face based on this symbol. And then our culture teaches us to put the symbols and the sounds in a particular order to create larger meaning. So I can put 3 symbols in a row. N, E, W. And when I put those in a row, those symbols create kind of one symbol that makes new, right? And so it's symbolic. It is a symbolic process. It's also symbolic with our bodies. I can move my hands in certain ways and people understand what those symbols mean. If I scratch my head, I don't have to tell you that I have an itch right here. You understand what that symbol means, okay? It's a process. It's a symbolic process, which means it's not concrete. It's not totalized. It's always in motion. It's very fluid. It's why words can mean different things now than they used to. Stuff like that, okay? But the real big thing that I want us to get to with this definition is this right here. We have a symbolic process whereby reality is involved. And I want to be very clear here, I am talking about little r reality, not big R reality. All right? Little r reality is my idea of the world. Big R reality is the stuff that's out there. So here's my best explanation for how to understand that. Big R reality would be this. The sun is real. It's out there, right? It's a big R reality. The sun is real. The moon is real. Big R. Okay? It exists. Now, to differentiate between big R and little r, the sun is big R real. But then I could say, in my world, the sun is a god that I worship. I mean, I don't actually worship the sun or the moon, but do you see what I'm saying? Big R would be the sun is real. Little r would be it is a god for me to worship. In my world, in my view, that's what it is. Probably not in yours, right? I mean, you might worship the sun. If you do, that's okay. But I'm just saying that's not something that a lot of people do. And so that would be a little r reality. Make sense? So my daughter is big R real. She is real. She is in the world. Okay? The way that I experience her, the way that I understand her, my relationship with her, that's my little r reality, okay? And so the big R and the little r reality are always going to be intertwined somehow. This definition is talking about us dealing with little r reality, okay? I can sort of deal with big R reality with communication, but that's a different thing. That's a different class. Okay, for us in here, we're talking about little R realities, the way that we understand the world within ourselves, the stuff that we come into contact with. That is really what we're dealing with here. So, a symbolic process whereby reality is produced. See, this is why it's important to say little r reality. Reality is produced. You and I, when we communicate together, we produce little r reality together. You and your significant other, you co-produce little r reality together. Think about this. Whenever you were younger, there was probably someone who said something bad to you, to make fun of you or to be mean or whatever. Doesn't that impact and create a reality for you? I mean, it does. It makes the world. And so what we have here is a symbolic process whereby reality gets co-produced between people. Now, for us in this class, and I'm going to link this to intrapersonal communication to end here in a second, but we co-produce reality together. We maintain reality. Folks, maintaining reality is why I can't do this. We maintain reality by calling this a table. You and I maintain reality by calling a table and a chicken and a chicken, and a pencil and a Sharpie and a finger, right? I can't call this a tooth. I just can't, because we have to maintain the reality that you and I are trying to share and communicate about. That's one of the functions of the representational system is to co-produce and maintain reality between people. That's why I just can't call it. I can't call a table a chicken. I just can't. That's the answer to that question, is because when we communicate, we maintain reality together. Okay. Then we also repair reality. The irony about communication is that damage done via communication can only be repaired with communication, for the most part. If you say something that hurts my feelings, we're going to have to talk about it. We're going to have to work it out. I mean, some people try to just forget it and move on. Some people try to, buy gifts or whatever to try to get it all figured out. But for us to really repair the reality that has been damaged, we have to use communication. And so we repair. We say, I'm sorry. We say I love you. We say you're my best friend, or whatever. Okay, we're family. We repair that way. And then lastly, we transform reality whenever we communicate. This sounds strange, I know. I cannot just communicate and completely, all of a sudden look like um, some very famous person who's super good looking. I cannot think of a name right now, but let's just go with someone, okay? I cannot sit here and just say, I look like this person, 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 and suddenly my reality is transformed and I look like that person. That's not what we mean here. What we mean is that we say words, we make meanings, we make sound waves come out of our face that completely transform, completely flip the realities, little r, that we're in. So think about one of the best examples of this is in a romantic relationship, the I love you moment. You kind of like each other, there's all sorts of dating going on and all that stuff, and then there comes that moment where somebody is going to say the words. They are going to shape the sound waves with their face. They're going to say, I love you. And then it flies out and it's there. Reality is absolutely transformed between those two people from that moment forward. Whatever the response from the other person is, right? If it's positive, it's transformed and your soul explodes with joy. If the other person is like, oh, well, you're neat and stuff, your reality is transformed because your soul is crushed and you just want to crawl up in a ball and cry in the shower, right? So when we communicate, we're dealing with reality. This process whereby you and I are going to co-produce reality. We maintain it, we repair it, we transform it. And then, and the citation is going to pop up. That's just me citing my source there. How does this link to us in this course to kind of wrap up, okay? So when we communicate, deal with reality. For an intrapersonal communication class, how you communicate with yourself impacts your realities. And I'm using little r, and I'm using plural because you have your realities with the people around you. You have your inner reality that's just you when you're by yourself. You have the you that you talk to. That creates a reality that you exist in. Your self-talk is a big piece of your inner world. And we're going to study self-talk this semester. So for us in here, how you communicate with yourself impacts your realities in a major, major way. And so that's why we do all of this stuff. We come to this definition of communication to give us a more nuanced, complex view of it, but we also come to this definition of communication because we need to understand what's going on inside of you whenever you communicate with yourself. When you communicate with yourself, it's something very powerful, existentially, personally, emotionally, psychologically, communicatively. And the world and reality that you create there is something you live in, you exist in, and you behave out of, right? It drives your behavior. Your thoughts are going to drive your behavior. The way that you talk to yourself drives your behavior. It's going to link to your self-esteem and your self-concept. I'm getting into terms from week 3 and week 4 right now. So to really wrap up now, this last thought of you communicating with yourself impacts your reality. That's your last journal entry for this week. So once you're done watching this, head over and take a look at that second journal entry and start to reflect on that, write on that. Remember, all discussions, your initial posts are due on Wednesday. Your replies are due by Friday. And the reason why is because discussions usually just get out of control on the weekend. And so I've given us the 5 days to do that. On the weekend, you finish your journals and any other assignments you need. You can look ahead the next week. It won't open till Monday, but you can look ahead till next week and begin to, it'll be, when I say open, it's visible, but you can't actually post or anything until starting Monday. Okay. So you can look ahead, you can plan ahead, you can read ahead, you can write ahead, whatever you need to do to manage your time in this course. Okay. So head over, take a look at journal number 2, get going on that. Remember to turn it in by Sunday night at 11:30. All journals are due Sunday night, 11:30 p.m. in their respective drop boxes. It's been a really good week. I'm enjoying our discussions, and I'm really looking forward to digging into your journals. I will see you in week 2.